Welcome to Beyond Rockets. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Clark Dunn and I'm your host. Get ready to enjoy some awesome conversations from Huntsville locals about cool work they are doing right here in the Rocket City. You can connect with us on social media at Beyond Rockets, and if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my website, beyondrockets.com today, or connect with me on LinkedIn at Clark Dunn. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Beyond Rockets. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here today. Would you like to introduce yourself and we'll kind of get started there?
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is Hannah and I am the owner of the new chocolate store in town, Coco Bama.
Awesome. And so I think the story of Coco Bama kind of started a little bit earlier with a little bit of your background. So talk first about growing up in a chocolate store. Your dad, I think, celebrated 13 years this year of a chocolate store in Virginia. Talk a little bit about that kind of growing up in it and kind of what your experience was.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my dad has sort of been in the restaurant business for 25, 30 years. The chocolate business specifically for probably 20 years. So I have definitely grown up with it, have seen it. I think the funniest, most ironic part of it was I hated it growing up.
Really?
Never wanted anything to do with it, never thought anything about
Like
it.
any of the restaurant business you didn't like, or
Nothing
just
about it.
specifically chocolate? You're like,
Nothing of
nothing.
all of it.
All the above.
I was like, they had to bribe me to go to the store to help. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, did you have like, full-time jobs there?" I was like, "Absolutely not. Never wanted to do anything."
Oh.
It took a lot of bribery to get me to go there. But yeah, so he's had his store Coco Vienna in Vienna, Virginia for 13 years now. And then my husband and I, so I grew up in that area, and then my husband and I moved to Huntsville a couple of years ago. And when we moved here, the first thing that really resonated with me was how Huntsville reminded me so much of the town of Vienna. And I saw what his store brought to that community, how people cherished it, how it was really just like a community staple. And that's sort of when all of the light bulbs in my head started going off. I was kind of like, oh, wow, this could be really cool to expand. So I started putting the bug in his ear about it, and he was like, "I'm too old to expand, but if you and Kevin, my husband, are interested in it, then we'll support you." So we kind of put some things in motion, and then it all just sort of fell into place, and
Yeah.
here we are.
And so you've been here in Huntsville for 3 years,
Mhm.
moved here in 2023 for work because you have a 9 to 5 outside of
Yes,
this chocolate. Did you know anything about Huntsville prior to moving here? Had you visited it before? What was sort of your, I mean, in 2023, Huntsville, it's very similar to what it is today. Like
Mhm.
small businesses were growing.
Right.
There's a lot of new things were coming. New things have come since you've been here, and new things are continuing to come. But what was sort of your expectation of Huntsville, and what did you know about it?
Yeah, I had been coming to Huntsville for probably 4 or 5 years before we moved, for various projects and various, like, other work engagements and things. And every time I came here, I was always just like, "It's a perfect mix of things to do, a little bit quieter." The commuting was non-existent. I was doing the full DC commute, taking the metro. My husband and I had crazy hours. So we kind of did the city life, and we knew we wanted to kind of settle down and really embed into a community to start our family and stuff. So since like really, and I think when the pandemic sort of happened and everyone sort of went remote, it kind of triggered like, hey, we may not need to be closely tied to DC anymore. What does that look like for us to move? And Huntsville was just like the first place that sort of came to mind just because I had been coming here so frequently for work. So yeah, we put the plans in motion it took us a couple of years to get here. My husband had to get a new job, and it all just really,
Yeah.
laid out for us and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I think, we had heard that, and I felt it too when I came here, how Huntsville really embraces, its community, loves its small business, things like that. So, it was just kind of a no-brainer for us.
And so you said once you moved here and you kind of saw the community, you kind of maybe thought that a chocolate store would be a good fit. Take me back. Was that the first moment that you thought maybe a small business, maybe even getting into that business that your dad had was something you wanted to? Or do you remember a time maybe 5, 10 years prior that you were like, at some point, maybe that's something I'm interested in? Or did all the kind of the stars align once you moved here that kind of clicked?
Yes, absolutely. It was the latter for sure. Once I moved here, if I say this to my dad all the time, if we were to have stayed in Virginia, no chance I would have taken over his business. It's just this funny thing. So Yeah, when we moved here and when I saw, like, the community, and again, I saw what Coco Vienna, has been to that community in Vienna, I really felt like that's what something we could have offered he we can offer here
Mm.
as well. So
But
it
no
really.
inclination to ever be your own, like, owner, business owner, small business owner, like, you saw your dad in that environment that you're
Yeah.
like, "I don't wanna do that." But up
Mhm.
until 2023,
Yeah,
that was
really,
sort of
like.
that, first moment of like, "Maybe I could do this."
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of silly, and crazy to like, I still kind of pinch myself. I think my dad still doesn't believe that it's
Yeah,
happening 'cause he's like,
he's
"Are
like,
you
"There's
like."
really not a chocolate shop
Yeah.
in
Like,
Alabama."
"Are you pulling like, are you yanking my chain?" Like, I, like, can't believe what I'm hearing. But, I think as you get older, you kind of see value in different things, and I think your priorities shift in what you want as well, or what you value and things like that. So, I think it just sort of, made sense. I've seen because of him having a small business forever, I've seen the ups and the downs and the struggles with it too. So that definitely comes with a lot of risk and a lot of things that give me a lot of anxiety as well. But it's just something I think is worth taking on to
Yeah,
hopefully show
yeah,
our vision to with the community. So.
yeah, and so you kind of had this idea that maybe a chocolate shop could come. What was that journey like from, like, "Hey, let's make this a chocolate shop," to then, "Let's find a space," to then, "Let's build out this space," and then, "Let's open," like, what was that window? Take me back to,
Mhm.
you and your husband kinda deciding, "Okay, let's look for spaces now." Like, "This is something that we should bring here."
Yeah.
You would talk to your dad, you kinda figure out the logistics a little bit. Like, what was that journey?
Yeah, so the location was, like, the biggest holdup, I think. I think we knew generally, like, the 3 or 4, like, neighborhoods, like, that we would want. Downtown, of course, being one. We kinda toyed around with the idea of Jones Valley, but I didn't want it in a shopping center. Like, I
Mm,
knew I had a very distinct, like, image in my head of, like, where I thought it could be. Like, his store in Vienna is a standalone old it used to be an
mm,
old toy shop and then an old clock store,
that's awesome.
actually. So it's a standalone old house.
So, like, that historic look to it was something that you
Yes.
kinda wanted to have
I
play a
wanted it
role into
unique.
this.
Right, exactly. So I knew that. I knew there was things that I definitely did not think would fit the feel that we were really going for. So we, met with a couple of different real estate brokers here just to sort of look, and it just so happened that, we live in, right down the street from Five Points, so every day I was driving past, and I'm like, That's a really cute spot. That's a really cute spot." But I was like, "I don't know why it's, maybe I don't know what the deal is, right?" And we're kind of still new here, not sure what the deal is. And then randomly somebody reached out like, "Hey, I think this would be a good idea for your chocolate store." And I was like, "Okay." So we toured it, but I think the thing that was, like, the craziest part of it, is at my dad's store, so you have, like, the storefront up front, and then behind it in the back is an event space. So what a lot of people don't know is about, our location in Five Points, there's an actual event space in the back that has a garage door that opens up, so it's almost an identical footprint to his
Really?
store.
Okay.
So I got, like, the goosebumps and everything was like,
Like, this is it.
"Ooh, this is, like,
So, like,
really
is the first
identical."
time that you saw it, did you and your husband know that, like, this is the spot?
It was a definite content I was like, "I think this is could really be it." It
Mm.
was, in the ballpark of what we needed, like, square footage wise, and it like, layout wise, we knew it could work with, like, our display counters and things like that. So, yeah, so that I think by the time we kind of looked at it and then, got on the lease and everything was probably like a 3 or 4-month process, and
Mhm.
then, of course, with build out and
How long did the
construction.
build out take in construction from, "Hey, here's the keys to the space," to then you deciding, "Hey, this is gonna be our grand opening."
It started so we signed the lease in December.
Okay.
And then construction started in March, and we did our opening in end of June, early July. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was a pretty quick process.
Yeah.
It didn't need too much work, but, some fine detail of
Mm.
things. So,
And
yeah.
so with you getting the space and kind of, having these conversations with your dad of opening up a chocolate
Mhm.
store and all of this, how much did he kind of play a role in the design and, with his experience and his expertise and just the history that he has, how much did he play a role in kind of helping design and curate and make the process? Because it is kind of your take on his store and bringing it to
Mhm.
Huntsville. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it was honestly, like, we complement each other in a great way. Like, he was obviously the mastermind behind, like, the chocolates,
Mm.
whereas, like, I came from a business background doing consulting and things like that. So, like, we talk all the time, and I was making fun of him as, like, I would like, my plans that he provided me were on sticky notes and scribbles that he had
Mhm.
made 15 years ago about stuff, and I was like, "How am I supposed to know what this
Yeah, how
means?"
can I decipher this and bring it to 2026?
Absolutely. So it was a lot of him, like, PDFing things, taking images of,
Mhm.
like, things he had written in Virginia, sending them over to me, documenting everything, kind of digitizing it. And so, we did a lot of number crunching because, 13, 14 years, it was truthfully probably 14 or 15 years ago when he did his build out for his store. So cost had changed.
Yeah.
They didn't even have quartz countertops back then. So like everything was very different. So there was a lot of that, the sort of the
Modernizing a
financial
little bit of
planning
the
up
stuff
front
too.
and then the modernizing of things too. So, but we were able to really use his exact footprint almost exactly in our
Wow.
store, which was really cool. A little different in
Is
terms
it
of
weird to think that, you never wanted to really work there growing up,
oh,
and then now you walk into the store that kind of resembles the store you
mhm.
decided to never
Yeah.
work in? Like,
Mhm.
is that a weird kind of feeling to you,
It
or is it
is, yeah.
like, I mean, obviously, you're 2 weeks into opening it to the public,
Mhm.
so it's still kind of a fresh new thing,
Yeah.
but, like, does it take you back to growing up when you walk into your store?
It does, yeah, and what's interesting is so, like, before he had Coco Vienna, he was involved in a number of different, like, chocolate franchises, so he had a couple of different locations, and that was a very different sort of feel than what he's created with Coco Vienna.
Mm,
So I was a lot older when he opened Coco Vienna, so I think I had a more mature approach to it and appreciation for it, which has really helped me, of
yeah.
course, here. But yes, it is a very much like a wow, is this actually happening? If you would have even asked me like 5 years ago if I ever saw this in my cards, I would have straight up laughed.
They've been like, "No,
There's
absolutely not."
0% chance. So I guess never say never.
Yeah, and so you get this build out, from signing the lease in December to build out process to then opening the doors as we were recording this 2 weeks ago tomorrow. What was that first day? Take me back to the opening. Take me back to you've poured in the last 8 months, 6 months,
Mhm.
year of thinking about this to building out this to then bringing it to the public. What was that day like to open the doors and introduce this to the community?
Yeah, I mean, all of the feedback we've gotten has been so positive. People so happy that, we're in the neighborhood, it's been really great and all of the sort of accolades that we would want of we're so glad you're part of the community. We're so glad you're here. The lot of the prep leading up to it, we had to make some decisions on do we do like a soft opening? Like there's still some build out things that we're still waiting on, but we kind of made the decision like we'll just do with what we can,
Yeah,
while we wait because I think we had sort of built up some momentum and stuff that we just wanted to kind of compliment
yeah.
and, act upon. So, yeah, I mean, it was a very honestly pretty seamless process with like the build out and everything. We had great contractors and great people that we were working with. So we're so grateful
Yeah.
who've really helped us. And so yeah, so it was a lot of it's a labor of love for sure, but I feel like it's exactly what I sort of pictured it being, and
Yeah.
so we're really happy with
And
it.
so you still have your 9 to 5, still have have your, more of a typical job that,
Mhm.
here in Huntsville, and you're doing this and you're doing Coco Bama. How has that last 2 weeks of kind of managing both looked like? And what is I mean, obviously 2 weeks into this, what is maybe your goals with the business, and kind of what you maybe see the rest of 2026 look like?
Yeah, surround yourself with people who can help you is my biggest thing, have a support system because thankfully we've had some really great employees. My parents were here for the first couple of weeks really helping us because I think what a lot of people probably didn't realize was even before we opened our doors, the amount of production and prep that went into
Mhm.
everything. So the truffles, the ganaches, like all of that is hand dipped, hand cut, hand rolled, made
Wow.
on premise. So yes, and that's, all by hand, one piece at a time. So I think, the production part leading up to it before we could even open our doors, was a big thing. So
Mm.
my dad, of course, was here with me for that, which was huge and which was great. And then, we've been training our employees and stuff to sort of help run the show and stuff as well, which has been great,
Yeah.
which has allowed, me to kind of do the other aspects of the business and try to figure all of that out. So yeah. So it's
Yeah,
been
I mean, with 2 week is there something, within the business so far that you're like, "Man, if only I would have known this day 1, or if only I would have known this," or do you think as you've been kind of through this journey over the last year or so, thinking about this business, opening this business, that the things you've learned and the kind of the feedback you've gotten from your dad and the support from him and just kind of this journey, everything's kind of you've known what you needed to know when you needed to know it? There's nothing that you wish you would have known earlier?
Yeah, I think we kind of figured everything out, as we needed to along the way. I think the hardest part was figuring out when do we need to order things? When do we need to do this? I
And,
think
like,
the big
I would assume the demand, because like, it's something that you just like,
you have no
yes, he
clue.
can give you numbers from his store, but
Right.
you don't know if that's anything near what or if it's greater or less or what it looks
Yeah.
like.
And we've already seen that. We've seen things that fly out of his store that maybe sit a little bit longer here, but things that we can't keep on the shelf here that he's like, wow, so we've already seen that.
Interesting.
I think my biggest like shocker has been just like the supply chain of things. Like I don't really deal with that in like my other job. But just dealing with like freight and things coming and things going and like sort of the vendor management has been my biggest like, oh, I wish I would have known that. I think one of the something we now can laugh about, but we had everything ready. We had like picked our soft opening date. We had ordered our chocolate bulk, like, of all of the stuff that we were gonna start making everything, and there was delays and delays, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have a chocolate store, but we don't have our, like, bulk chocolate. Like, how are we gonna do anything?"
Yeah.
And it came super late, and they had, like, issues that they've never had before, of course, at the warehouse, and so, I think that's probably been, like, my biggest thing is figuring out when to order things, what's gonna resonate really well with
Yeah.
people here and what's not, and so just kinda figuring it out.
Yeah, my wife and I were able to go last weekend and actually, like, see the store and get some chocolate, and it was fantastic, and we'll kinda have some photos on the screen too of some of the photos I took there so people can kinda see what it looks like. Take people if someone maybe hasn't someone's listening and watching, they haven't gone, what is sort of the staples? What are some of your favorite products?
Mhm.
And what are some maybe the unique things that if they've been to other chocolate places potentially, maybe haven't seen that you do?
Okay. Yeah, I think a couple things that I think are our big like standouts. First we have like our two chocolate machines in the front of the store so people, kids can come in and watch us hand dip their items. We have 9 different ganaches, which all of the centers are like ingredients and we, make those on site and then all of our other truffles are hand dipped in our machines as well. I think one of the things that, I like the most about it is we can also do any sort of, like, custom gifts. So we can do corporate gifts, we can do, molds, that are for your company logo. We can also do weddings. Like, right now, I'm working with, a couple of people on getting, like, initials on truffles,
Wow.
things like that. I think another thing, that we really enjoy doing is we have custom chocolate bars that people can write messages on.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can write it in chocolate, and we can do that on site right there while you wait. So it's not like you have to order ahead or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think what I love about it is you can come in for one truffle if you just have a really bad sweet tooth craving, or if you're, celebrating your life's biggest moment, like we can help with that too. So it offers like a variety of things.
Yeah, and it was like, there's so much options, like, as we were walking through, like, I think you were up front dipping chocolate, like, actually were and then, like, you came over and asked if, like, if we're ready, and my wife and I were both like, "Not really, but we're just gonna go for
Let's
it."
just try
And so we just were like,
it.
"This and this and this," and then you
Yeah.
started adding, you're like, "Oh, wow," but it's also cool because you have, like, the back wall of prepackaged stuff too, and then the boxes of, like, like, I think you had, like, a medical, like, chocolate case thing that was, like, professional boxes
Yeah.
for, like, occupations, which are really
Mhm.
cool too. But it's just a cool little spot, and I think, it's in historic Five Points, which is such an amazing area that has just grown up kind of in the last couple years with Snail Bookstore being there,
Mhm.
Walker's Market, Good Company Cafe just opened their second location, and then Star Market's just kind of been that anchor for such a long time. And you just kinda have this cool, like, I don't know, there's an energy in the area that's, the fit that y'all get to kinda sit there and, reap the benefits of a long-standing history of an area that's yet people in Huntsville have just experienced and been there for a long period of time, which is
Mhm.
awesome to see. Um, as we kind of wrap up the conversation, is that as what would be your sort of advice for somebody? Maybe their family has a family business and they're like never thought about doing it, or maybe someone's listening and wants to start something on their own, but just hasn't gotten that push. What would be something that you would tell them of, or like the advice that you wish you would have gotten, or that you got yourself when starting all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for me, didn't happen overnight, right? Like, I feel like you think about it, sleep on it a lot, talk to people, kind of do some of your own due diligence to really figure out, where it would be, what that would kind of do. Something that I did, in 2024 was I worked with, like, Walkers and some other small businesses who sort of do resale of other items, and we started just selling our chocolate bars just to sort of get it out into the community to see if
Mm,
people liked it, if it was of interest, and, I think that kind of helped us get some decent
yeah,
feedback and things. So, test it out if you can. Think about what it looks like in 5 years for you and what some of those goals are. I think that's kind of helped me. And then again, like I've said, like, surround yourself with people who know the area, who, are able to help you. You couldn't do this like without a group of people around you,
yeah,
So I think that was really key for me on solidifying the location, was talking to people to, make sure that
yeah,
the 5 points, like, they agreed that it was a good location. And then, as you mentioned, the other small businesses being around us is so
amazing.
it's amazing, and they're awesome, and I feel like that helps us so much as well,
Yeah.
so
And so we've talked a lot about the location. If someone's listening and they want to stop by, what is the address of the location?
mhm.
I know your website has a lot of great information for people listening as well. And then social media is also a great point. So if you want to give sort of those points of contact that if someone's listening or watching, that they can kind of connect and learn more.
Yeah, so we are located at 716 Pratt Avenue, so right between Star Market and kind of Good Company right there on Pratt. We have, our Instagram handle is just at Coco Bama. If you wanna email or have questions or anything like that, want orders, you can just email me, hannah@cocobama.com. And then we're open 7 days a week right now, 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday, and Sundays 12 to 4, so we're
Awesome.
always there and, happy to help.
Yeah. And we'll be sure to have everything in the episode notes, links to everything. So if you're listening or watching, you can visit the show notes and find out more information. But I appreciate you taking the last little bit to share a little bit about your story and the story of Coco Bama. We'll have to have you on in a couple years as the business continues to grow and you kind of have more of that footing here in the Huntsville community. But I appreciate you taking the last little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Rockets. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and on YouTube at Beyond Rockets. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Beyond Rockets to stay up to date with new episodes as they are released. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.